Tune into the final take with MK Mariner every Saturday on the Alcamba Times and experience extensive conversations on a variety of topics, including national and international headlines, breaking issues, and major developments in politics, business, innovation, science, and sports, along with inspiring stories and expert analysis to provide a comprehensive understanding of the news.
Hello and warm welcome to yet another exciting edition of the Final Take with me, Seni Marina, live from our virtual studios here in Seattle, Washington State, United States. In the studio today is a special guest, Mr. Ibrahim Damfa, who is a human resources professional from the London School of Economics in United Kingdom. Mr. Damfa will, discuss with me the issues of employment in the country and brain drain. We have seen recently that Gambia has seen a lot of graduates at high level from masters to PhD, but most of these graduates are turning their back from the country for one reason or the other. To discuss this and many on this show today, Ibrahim will take us through this very important topic. We'll also explore about the current political fate in the United Democratic Party. Ibrahim is also a member of the United Democratic Party, but that discussion will come later in the show. Ibrahim, welcome to the final take with me, Seni Marina.
Thank you very much, MK. It's a pleasure and a privilege to join you today in the famous Alcamba Times, and I hope to have a fruitful discussion with you.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim, for joining us. For those watching, as I said, this is the final take with me, Seni Marina. Ibrahim Damfa is joining me live from UK, London, United Kingdom, to discuss this very important topic. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we will definitely roll in this show.
Tune into the final take with MK Mariner every Saturday on the Alcamba Times and experience extensive conversations on a variety of topics, including national and international headlines, breaking issues, and major developments in politics, business, innovation, science, and sports, along with inspiring stories and expert analysis to provide a comprehensive understanding of the news.
Welcome back wherever you are tuning. This is the final take with me, Seni Marina. My special guest is Ibrahim Damfa, who will be speaking to me live from UK. Mr. Damfa, welcome. Thank you for joining us on the final take. You had a very impressive journey from being the best student in the School of Business and Public Administration at the UTG to your current role at the London School of Economics. Can you briefly share how your academic and professional experience have shaped your perspective on human capital flight in the country?
Thank you very much. Quite an essential question, the first one for that matter. I think my academic background saved my desire for employment and employee relation matters. And I think that stemmed from the Gambia, where I studied a bachelor's in human resource management. And I've done a couple of studies there with some professors, for example, Dr. Mane, which focus on the psychological contract. Of course, we also had some series of discussions about, for example, human capital flight, issues around why people move from the Gambia or from other countries to seek for other employment opportunities or to seek for further advancement. So that saved my desire and my quest to pursue issues that has to do with employment, and that proceeded to the London School of Economics. That was when I was awarded the UK government Children's Scholarship to study at the London School of Economics, and it continued. So my master's was on public policy and public administration, but my specialty was on comparative public policy analysis. And my research thesis was on bureaucratic motivation and performance of the public service of the Gambia. And during that process, I was able to have the opportunity to have discussion with series of public servants in the Gambia, especially teachers, and was able to understand their perspective as far as employment is concerned, their perspective as far as motivation is concerned, their perspective as far as remuneration is concerned, and that was what pushed me to continue my pursuit for HR up to LSE. So before I completed my studies, I was lucky to gain employment in the HR division a couple of years ago, 2, 3 years ago, and been there, rose to the ranks up to now, managing the recruitment system. So far so good. That is what saved my desire in my pursuit for HR and human resource related matters.
Okay, Ibrahim, that's interesting, because we have few individuals who specialize in those areas. Ibrahim, tell us, during your research on employment issues and brain drain in the Gambia, what strike the most from your research about those important issues?
Thank you very much. One thing that stands out, which is very difficult to admit, is the rate at which everyone wants to leave the Gambia. And when I say everyone wants to leave the Gambia, I want to make a caveat. That is the so called education
Mhm.
class. I want to use the word so called because I don't want it to appear as those who are living the Gambia and are not educated should not be classified. Of course, they are very, very important. So the rate at which the intellectual class leaves the Gambia to other countries is quite very, very interesting revelation.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of spares to this, and we cannot speak only from one point of view. Of course, there are good things to it, there are bad things to it. But I'll just give you one thing that stands out in a research that I'm conducting. But I just wanted to verify it yesterday, and I conducted just a short survey on one WhatsApp group. It's called Democratic Gambia.
Yeah,
Just to
I think I saw it.
understand,
Yeah.
yes, just to understand
Mhm.
what young people think about moving outside the Gambia to look for greener pasture. And the result was quite fascinating. Let me say that the result is not a pure representation of every person who is in the group, because not everyone responded. It's just a handful. But we want to believe that is a good sample, and it can give a huge representation, not only Democratic Gambia, but among the youth folks that are living in the country. And the question was, as a young Gambian studying overseas, I would like to return to the Gambia to serve my people regardless of financial rewards. This is one of the questions. Another question is, as a young Gambian studying overseas, I will remain overseas to further develop myself and ensure financial independence. So among all the people that responded to this,
Wow.
73.6 percentage of the
Mhm.
respondents says that as Gambians, they will remain overseas to further develop themselves to ensure financial independence. That is 74% out
Wow.
of all the respondents.
Awesome.
That is quite significant. And I
Mhm.
mean, it's safe to say that one can draw a conclusion on such kind of a response. I mean, obviously
Mhm.
there should be caveats, and that's not the only thing. I went forward because I want to understand whether it's just people's desire to just stay in overseas or whether there are other underlying factors. And then
Mhm.
I posed another poll as well, and the poll give, in fact, one that I'm still finding very difficult to understand. And the
Mhm.
question was, as a Gambian, I will have loved to return home and
Mhm.
serve my people if government was less corrupt and if
Mhm.
I were to be remunerated or paid handsomely. And then
So,
90%.
Abraham, I didn't want to cut you short. This is a very interesting sample you did, though it might not reflect a majority of the Gambians, because this is just a small group of Gambians, probably, I would say the so-called elite, like the educated. And then, yes, Ibrahim, we seen recently that there has been a surge of number of graduates. You know, a lot of them, especially where I live in the United States. Every now and then you might see on Alcamba celebrating academic excellence, and people will be like, every day, Gambians are graduating on good standing from very prestigious universities. But the country still faces challenges in terms of human resources and development. So, what do you think is the primary drivers of this brain drain? And are these mainly economic, social, political, or combination of both factors?
It's all
From
factors.
your experience.
Yes, it's all factors. I mean, sad to say, I am part of this cadre of people. I mean, myself, I went to studies and I got unemployment. I've not still returned, right? So just to reflect back, just the question that you just asked, a sample of just answered it. And 90% of the people said they would have loved to go back to Gambia to work if the government was less corrupt and if they were to be remunerated positively. Okay, so if you look at it, there are a lot of reasons why people move from one country to another, and it's not unique to Gambia. This is everywhere. It happens everywhere, but the scale in which it is happening in Africa, especially Gambia, is large scale. There are push factors and there are pull factors. There are pull factors. One of the pull factors is, of course, we all know in the West there are many opportunities, like the US you mentioned. There are opportunities for financial independence. There are opportunities for people to thrive. There are opportunities for people to advance in their career. There are a huge lot of opportunities that we all know, right? But outside those pull factors, for example, the issues that pull young people to move outside the Gambia with all their academic qualifications to go to, if in fact, get into lower jobs in the West. It's because not only that pull factor, but there's also what we call the push factor. And the push factor is in the Gambia, and it lies in the center of our administration and governance. I mean, just recently, MK, when I see the government championing the recruitment of young people leaving the country to work in Saudi Arabia, I was
in Spain too.
That was mind blowing. I was saying to myself, it is your responsibility. The reason why you're elected.
I will show you. I will show you a picture of that. I will show you. This is a picture of that Spain Gambia migration circular, when a lot of young people were scaling fence just because they want to leave the country to go to Spain. And what are they going to do in the Spain? To work in farms.
Yes. So that is why I say, MK, it's the same. And one thing that stands out, this is not something that is been orchestrated by private individuals. This is not something that has been orchestrated by any Tom, Dick, and Harry. This is something that is being championed by the government of the Gambia. They lead the recruitment processes, they do the advert, and they're very proud of it. Shamefully to say, oh, Gambians, young Gambians, we have job opportunities for you, not in the country, but outside the country. And shamefully to say,
so Ibrahim, this is an indictment on the government.
Sorry, do you want to repeat that question again, please?
Is this an indictment on the government?
Hello, I missed that point a bit.
I said, you didn't get. I say, is this an indictment on the government for failing in their responsibility to provide 100%. Employment opportunity for young people?
100%. If you look at Barrow's manifesto, if you look at the National Development Plan, the 5 strategic priorities, one of the key priorities is to ensure that employment is being provided to the Gambians. I mean, that's top on the priority. So, and when you say you provide employment to Gambians, it's meaningful employment in the country. So if you cannot provide that meaningful employment to the Gambian people, especially the young folks, and going in turn, having discussions, having international memorandums with other countries, especially countries that have the worst record of employment. If you look at the data right now, Saudi Arabia has the worst record of employment for foreign nationals in the whole world. Wow. The the numbers is incredibly crazy. I mean, the number of people that die in the construction sites, the way the employers treat the employees is absolutely insane. I was just looking at CIP, the results outcome. It is saying that Saudi is an environment where no individual should work in. Not just only because how they pay people, but how they treat people. Employment is not about providing service for someone just to pay you. No, it goes beyond that. This is about a life and livelihood. So, having to go to discuss employment crisis with a country that has such bad records and forcing your individuals, Gambians, to go into such countries to work there, and you championing that is definitely crazy. And the impact of this, MK, I know maybe you will ask me that later, is mind blowing. Every facet of our economy, every part of our society is affected because people are moving in large scale. And I hate to say this, these are not any kind of people. One, these are the most, when I say important class of people, I mean important in terms of the development of the country, right? These are young, energetic people. They have the energy, they have the drive, they have the willingness. They're not only energetic; these are skillful people. Okay, these are intellectuals and intelligent people. Okay, I have students who call me and they were like happy to be part of that. And I couldn't even believe it, right? So these are the people that you are pushing. You should be a pull factor as a country. Saudi is a pull factor. That's why they are pulling people to come and work for them. So as a country, you should be a push factor to have young minds to come and work for you so that you can develop your country, you develop themselves individually so that your governance can be up to standard. But you are the push factor pushing them away, which is absolutely crazy. So the number speaks for itself. So this is like you said, the government is at the center of it, and I think they are the greatest player as far as human capital flood is concerned right now.
Yeah. Ibrahim, you talk about a report that indicted Saudi government for not providing a conducive environment for migrant workers. With all this, government is aware of the condition of migrant workers in Saudi Arabia, but they still, went ahead and signed, a deal with the Saudis to send in Gambians there. Why do you think that government will be so frustrated, failing in their responsibility of providing job opportunities and now sending our young people to Saudi under these bad conditions as highlighted by a recent report you just cited?
Yeah. So these things are very, very open. The answers to your questions are very open. The Saudi's record is in the open. Even if you do just a generic search, you don't even need to read a lot of articles. It is Saudi. They have the worst record ever in terms of their systems. And one of the systems that they have is they call it the Calafaya system, where they kind of sponsor people, migrant ties to come and work for their houses, and they do everything to them. And I was just reading Employment Help, and it says migrant workers in Saudi Arabia often face all kinds of challenges, labor challenges related to protection, low working hours, sometimes even in worse working conditions, and sometimes they are not even paid their benefits as agreed. And that is even proven when the Minister of Trade whatsoever comes out to say that they are going to be paid hundreds of like $100 or $200 a month.
$200, including
Dollars a
their
month.
accommodation and stuff.
Accommodation. That's $200 is even less than $20,000. And look at the kind of work that they are doing. When you say you're working in Gambia and you're working in the West, it's completely different. MK, you know this. If you're working in Gambia, when you go to the office, sometimes you have relatively nothing to do. If you go to your, physical jobs, you don't even need to do much. But if you are working for these people, you work by the minute, you work by the second. You don't stand; it continues. You don't have breaks. You work like a non-human being.
And I understand they don't even have weekends. They work around the clock under very serious conditions.
Yes, you must have, naturally you must have some breaks when they don't need you. But if you looked at it in terms of provided by labor rights protection, even their own labor rights protections, I mean, this is not international labor rights protection. Their own labor rights protections, as reported by them, they break it more than any other, and no one holds them to account, because the people that spare this, the people that lead to it, are very powerful. So the government is complicit. They know very well what is happening. But sometimes you come to see that, what does this government do? Are they getting involved into anything that benefits Gambians? And MK, is sad to say, the people that steered the affairs of some of these things are people that study in the USs that you just mentioned, the UKs that we mentioned, the masters that we mentioned. They got the qualifications, but for some reason, when they get into these positions, I don't know what comes into their head. They see the numbers, they see their facts, they see researches, and they have been advised many, many times, but they go ahead and they care nothing about the welfare of young Gambians. And this is absolutely one of the reasons why I say they're hugely complicit of what's going on.
Many thanks for that, Ibrahim. As a human resources professional, how do you see the role of workplace conditions, such as job satisfaction and career opportunities, contributing to professionals leaving the Gambia for West?
Yeah. So I'm going to make a referral to one of the researches done by Armstrong. He's one of the most seasoned experts in terms of human capital flight. And his argument extensively is that if you look at the sectors where people migrate most of the time are one of the most important sectors. And Gambia is not an exception of that. That is the healthcare sector. If you look at the number of nurses, doctors, and health professionals that are leaving the Gambia to overseas, is quite incredible. The education sector, the number of UTG lecturers, teachers that are leaving to study and they will not come back and they will continue working, or studying, is incredible. And then the third is innovation, because when people leave, they go with their ideas, they go with their brain. That is why it is called brain drain. What is happening is that the country's brain is draining. You understand? So workplace systems contribute hugely to it. If you provide job security for people, if you pay people based on their performance and their contributions to work, if you handsomely reward people, if you are concerned about their welfare, you might not keep everybody, but you will be able to keep some. It's quite sad, MK, if you're working as a nurse or a doctor, and sometimes you find it very difficult to get to even your workplace to carry your responsibility. Sometimes you go to the hospital, you don't even have a glove to carry out your duty, and then your family is crying for rice, and then you saw a job in the US or UK where you're going to be paid 3,000, 4,000 pounds, 5,000 pounds, where when you go, you will develop, your family will benefit. Eventually, you will leave. So work is not only about the environment. It's also about the pay. It's also about the motivation. It's also about the systems that are in place. It's not also even about what the employee is going to take home, but what the employee is going to use to carry out his job. Is also very, very important. All of these things are very incredibly important for keeping people. And that's why we call it the attrition rate, the rate at which people leave, for example, even within the country jobs. It's absolutely crazy, and these things really need to be addressed. We need to have systems in place to keep people, to maintain and retain talent, for the government to be able to achieve or attain its potentials.
Okay. Damfa, you will also agree with me, not only the workplace conditions, but issues like enforcement of employment laws. Like,
Yes.
the country has labor laws, that take care of unlawful dismissals. Because recently we have seen a lot of unlawful dismissal from the cases of the UTG lecturers, and also other people who were unlawfully dismissed because they stand up against the system, or they stand up against some of the stuff in their employment workplace. What do you think government should do, in terms of strengthening these laws to ensure that, employers' rights are respected and they can seek redress in court? I have a couple of examples. We have a labor department whose responsibility is to how to call it, look into labor rights violation. We also have the ombudsman. But in most cases, these institutions will give their verdict, but the employers will not respect it. Do you think this is also one reason why there is brain drain? We having a lot of young people who are qualified, leaving the country for the West.
Yes, you 100%. I agree with you, MK. That's quite an incredible analysis. I mean, the results speaks for itself. I mean, we have a dead and buried employment tribunals in the Gambia. I don't even know
Yeah,
what their
yeah.
responsibilities are.
Industrial tribunals. We have a couple of them.
Yes, definitely. Our tribunals should be places where people seek redress, and it's quite sad to see that tribunals would even go, I mean, even though they are limited in number, they will go and make rulings, but institutions that are respected.
Yeah,
So the
respect it.
problem, people
Mhm.
need to respect laws, and
Mhm.
people need to make sure laws are enforced. I mean, you've given a couple of examples, and forget about me. I'm at the center of this. I've been dismissed in my job in the
Yeah,
Gambia because
yeah,
of speaking up. I
yeah.
mean, I could have gone to the tribunals, but I've seen when I was in HR, people go to
So you
tribunals.
lost a
I,
trust in the
yeah,
system that's supposed to protect your right.
I do loss in I have no faith in the system. That's why I went to high court state to seek redress. So it's very sad, and not everybody will have the money to get a lawyer to
Yeah.
challenge a decision in the high court or in the magistrate courts. So we need to have functional industrial tribunals. One, we need to have a systematic ombudsman that will live up to their responsibilities, and we need to have internal systems in place to ensure that some of these blatant disregard for laws will not happen. Because it's sad to say, but every institution in the Gambia have human resource departments. They don't only have human departments, but they have audits, they have legal advisors. So if one person want to get up and say, "Oh, I want to sack MK," just like that, the HR should stand up to say, "Well, this is our advice. We are advising you based on our employment laws, based on our labor laws, based on our public service commission, on based on our general orders. This is wrong." The legal advisors need to stand up and then challenge the system. But that's not what is happening. And then it's just only one person will just get up and make decision out of the blue, and everybody will dance to the tune. So this contributes, because what happened is, if you sack somebody, they need to feed their family. I mean, I'm a typical example. My plan was to return back to the Gambia, I mean, to work there. And in fact, my scholarship, one of the conditions of my scholarship is that when you finish studying, you have to go back home. And when I went back home and I had a discussion with the High Commissioner, the British High Commissioner in the Gambia, and I said to him, "Well, I am coming back, but guess what? I am unemployed. And just to let you know, I have an employment with the London School of Economics." And he just looked at me, and what he said to me, I can't repeat that here. But obviously, nobody will tell you stay. They will be the one who will, in fact, highly advise you to go for it. So you are very right with your analysis. The employment systems are very corrupted. Individuals play by their own book. They don't regard the law. They do what they want to do. Industrial tribunals are institutions that are established by law. So if they make judgments, if they make rulings, it needs to be adhered to. If you don't want to adhere to it, you have the right to challenge it in a magistrate court or in the high court or in the court of appeal. The law provides that for you as an employer. But you don't sit at your corner to say, "Well, it's an industrial tribunal. I'm not going to enforce the law. What will happen?" And the government is still the architect, because all of this thing is a governance process. If the government puts in a system where individuals in these institutions will either abide by the law or pay the price, then therefore they will. And most of these things are in fact politically motivated. Governments are behind it, and sometimes that's why it's very difficult to challenge it. And I agree with you, like I said, in total, that you said is
Absolutely.
correct. Yeah.
Absolutely. Many thanks, Ibrahim, for those joining us live. This is the final take with me, Seni Marana. We are discussing about the employment and brain drain affecting our country. We have seen a lot of graduates, every day, Gambians from all walks of life are graduating with masters, PhD in various areas, but our country still remain at standstill. We're still fighting to get the human resources to develop our country. Ibrahim, from your research on employment relationship and psychological contract, how does the lack of trust or unmet expectation between employees and institutions in the Gambia fuel brain drain?
Yeah, it also plays a key role, MK. And I'm glad that you understand the context hugely, and it helps in the process. I mean, the set of expectations that employees have even beginning a job needs to be met. You know, every employee has what we call psychological contract. If you're given your appointment letter, even before the job starts, you know that this is my expectation. I am expecting to be paid this. I'm expected to be provided the opportunity to go for further studies. For example, if you are the head of comms, you are expecting that anytime, you know, if you are the head of comms of CRC, for example, I give an example, you're expecting that when CRC is going for their tours, you need to be in the center because you need to communicate to people. So those are expectations. And these are very, very important expectations, because when these expectations are not met, what it brings about is what is called it's called renege in responsibility. When you don't meet your expectation as an employee, as an employer, the employee begin to lose trust in you, and it begins to lose confidence in you. And if that happens, it encourages what we call withdrawal. You understand? And when this happens, the organization suffers. Because when I'm starting a job, and in my mind, this is what I'm going to expect, I did not expect it. You know, I'm quite demotivated at the beginning of the show. So this is why you have a lot of laissez-faire people in our institutions. I mean, sometimes I don't blame them, but what happens is that you find an institution where a job that can be done by 1 or 2 people is done by 20 people. You know, why that? And still, you see, these institutions are advertising. They still are saying that we need more people. You need more people. The people that you have internally don't have anything to do. They just sit there. You know, sometimes we don't even care about how the institution performs. And this is the problem. Because if you are hell-bent in just bringing people to institutions, you are not concerned about what impact these individuals will have in this institution. The institution will fail. And what happens if the institution fails is the individuals will fail, because it is the institution that survives that individual. They have a vice versa responsibility. The institution survives, and the individual survives. They have a very, very collaborating relationship in that perspective. So it's something that institutions need to look at, individuals need to look at, to make sure that they address psychological contracts before the beginning of any employment relationship. It's not just only about, hey, you hereby informed that you are appointed as the director of that and that. No, it's also about the things that are psychological. They are not written, they are not being said, but they are in the minds of both the employee and the employer. It's important to address them in the beginning so that expectations are met. And when this is done, trust and confidence will be enhanced. And obviously, when that is done, people becomes what we call organizational citizens. At some point, they don't even feel like they're working for the organization.
They take ownership of everything.
They take ownership. Like, thank you very much. They take ownership of the organization. They feel like when the organization fails, they feel as individuals. And that's not what is happening. If you go to institutions, people will say, well, let it happen.
You don't care. Laissez-faire attitude.
That's why I say you have so many laissez-faire individuals in the system, and the system systemize it for them. The system, in fact, make them laissez-faire. So that's incredibly very sad for public service delivery, and very sad for our economy, very sad for our performances. And if you look at this very carefully, that is why institutions in the Gambia are not doing well. And that's why now government is getting involved in selling, or outsourcing the responsibilities of public corporations, which is very sad. Going to Gambia Ports Authority to say, oh, we are giving this service to Alport. You will be surprised, MK, if that service is being handled by the government or a public corporation in the Gambia. They will employ not in less than 100 people. Alport, if you look at their employment number, they're not even up to 25. I'm telling you this. And they're going to perform up to expectation. Service will be delivered. But otherwise, in a government institution with a similar capacity, who has about 500 individuals, will not even be able to deliver the service of this other private institution that has less than 20 people. So
But
the
but but,
numbers are
but
not
Ibrahim,
adding up.
when you when you look at the port authorities situation, it's very sad. But you will also realize that since Alport took operations, there has been significant improvement in terms of service delivery compared to the Gambia port authorities handling of the port's operations. So what do you think about that? It's hard, and sad to see that
Mhm.
our main driver of our economy, because the port pumping a lot of money to the Gambian economy, and this port is now being outsourced to a foreign company, Alports. But by the way, they are doing well in terms of service delivery. So, what do you think should be done to avoid issues like this? Because at the end of the day, you said it, that if port is to employ hundreds of Gambians, Alport, who is now managing the port, is employing 20 to 50 Gambians, and they're doing well. So you could see there is an issue with the ports authority, from the government perspective.
Yeah, it's an issue of seriousness. It's an
Okay.
issue of efficiency, an issue of responsibility. I mean, the only reason why it happens is because the Gambia Port Authority do not have a system in place that will make sure people have the right job description, that will make sure people have the right role specification, that will make sure people work for their money. And the other people on the other side, you'll be surprised that they might not even be experts. Some of these people that will put on course and then working in Gambia, if they are in their countries, brother, they will not work in normal offices, right?
Mhm.
But they have a system in place. They will pay you, but they will make sure you work for your money. That is what is happening. But in the other hand, you have 5 people in an office that should be handled by nobody, not even one person. It should be an office that should be handled by nobody. You have 5, 6, or 10 people sitting there discussing about things that have nothing to do with government, discussing things about things that have nothing to do with the service they should deliver. And you only know that when you go to Gambia public institutions and ask individuals, what is your job description? Some of them will open their eyes to you, and you're
Yeah,
just asking them, what is your role here? What is your responsibility?
yeah,
That's because when people are even employed, they are not given what we call, they're not given no terms of reference.
yeah,
They don't know
yeah,
what their
yeah.
job
They
is.
don't give them
So
deliverables. Yeah, yeah,
good, good. I'm glad you said that. They don't have deliverables, they don't have expectations, they don't have targets, they don't have points, and the other institutions have that. So it's about inculcating seriousness in public service. It's
but
about
but but, but,
making
but
public
Ibrahim,
service.
I don't wanna cut you short, but in the Gambia under Barrow administration, this was non-prevalence under Yaya Jammeh. We have a whole Ministry of Public Service headed by a public service minister. I think the objective or the rationale behind this ministry is to ensure there is a effective and efficient public service delivery. And the ministry has been in existence for like 5 years now, but we haven't seen much, about it.
Yeah.
What do you think the Ministry of Public Service should do in order to bridge this gap between employees and employers in government institutions or even the private sector?
Yeah. So I think Barrow campaign on one of the platforms, on one of his agendas, is public service reforms. And it's sad to say, I don't know, for
Yeah.
some reason, they believe that when you say that, oh, okay, we have a campaign manifesto that we're going to go in for public service reforms. So when we have a Ministry of Public Service, then we have achieved that target. That's absolutely ridiculous. When you are reforming the public service, you are not initiating a public service whatsoever ministry. That is the most useless ministry I've ever seen in my entire life. Already, you have a secretary general in the Gambia that is responsible for
Yeah.
every civil servant. You have Ministry of Trade, Works, or whatsoever. They're very, very responsible for all this.
Even the
You
public
have
service, you forget the Public Service Commission.
commission. That's what I have to say. You have a special commission, the Public Service Commission, that is under the Secretary General, that is responsible for every public service issue. And now you said you are setting up a ministry called Ministry of Public Service. Go and look at the people that are working there, the responsibilities that they are doing. It has been jam-packed. You have 2 people in different departments or different ministries doing the same responsibility and not even aware of that. You only come to know that if you work in the institutions, you will receive a memorandum or a directive from Public Service Commission. From there, before you know, you receive another letter from Ministry of Public Service, because they are duplicate of responsibility. All these ministries are very, very irrelevant and unnecessary. The number of ministers that you can in the Gambia is in ratio with the UK. I mean, not far apart. And look at the number in terms of the number of people that live in this country, the economy is crazy. All these ministries are very, very, very unnecessary. What they are, what is the public service? What is their responsibility? What is their description? What are they even doing? And it's sad to say, but it still goes on to many other things that is happening. I mean, I don't want to delve, but even positions like spokesperson, minister of information, what is their role? They're duplicating. When you go to institutions, every institution in Gambia, public institution, have a communication officer. Some of them even have public relation officers. Some offices have 3 or 4. And for example, in Gambia Civil Aviation Authority, you have about 3 or 4 people working in the PR office. Some of them are communication assistant, communication officers, PR manager. Why do you have 2 ministries that are responsible to communicate? What nonsense? What's there to communicate? So, it's quite very sad sometimes when you talk about it. MK, you know some of these things more deeply, and yeah, and I think it's because of seriousness. It's because of no direction. It's just because of ticking the boxes. Because to say that I have an agenda or I have a campaign manifesto that says that I'm going to reform public service, so which means I'm going to establish a public service ministry, is absolutely a shame. What you need to do.
Ibrahim, as a human resources professional, you have conducted research on employment. How has human capital flight impacted the Gambia's economy, particularly regarding workforce shortage and economic productivity?
Yeah, so it's in 2 folds. Human capital flight, I need to be fair as well, MK, that it has some positive gains for the country. Yeah. Because if you look at it, 30% of Gambia's GDP is on
remittances.
Is on remittances.
Yeah.
And remittances is as a result of human capital flight.
Yeah. Ibrahim, you are mute. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes, can you hear me now?
You are on mute.
Oh,
you mute your Yes, thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, so human capital flight has some advantages as well, even otherwise. So, for example, remittances just mentioned, that it marked 30% of our GDP. So, the amount of money that people send in our country, it's all because of human capital flight. If people don't leave to work in overseas, that will not happen. But, it has 2 sides. In the short run, and for individuals, that is good. It's good for individuals, but it's not good for the country. It's not good for long-term sustenance, and it's not good for national development. Because the money that individuals send is not the money that government used to develop the country. These are money that is sent to individuals. If MKND is in the America, is sending money back home, he's not sending it to borrow government to use the money. He's sending it to his brother or sister to use it individually on his own individual accord. So that is one side, good side of it. The bad side of it is quite a mess because it affects public service delivery. It affects our healthcare industry, healthcare sector. It affects our education system. And most importantly, it drills on innovation because people live in large numbers. And, it's evident to the things that is happening in the Gambia right now. If you go to our hospitals, we don't only lack doctors, but we lack facilities that the doctors need. If you go to our public service, just like we are saying, we don't have capable people there because the people that are capable, you don't have many capable people. Okay, you have capable people, but not as we require. The people that are there, most of them have left, and even those that are there, a survey that has just been conducted saying that, well, we are here, but if we have the opportunity to go, we will go. And it drills on innovation. You have in the US, you see Gambians doing incredibly well in the area of innovation, science, and technology. You don't have that in Gambia because the people that have the opportunity have been pushed outside of the country, and they are not only been pushed out, but they have been provided what we call pull factor. If you look at all these countries, the West, they hate immigration. They don't want to see people in their country. You know what I mean? But they are providing systems in place to welcome people that have these brains. If you come to the UK right now, they have, for example, special visas Just right now, they have what they call high performance work visa. They have what they call skill work visa. They have what they call special talent visa. They have all these different types of visas that will attract people. What kind of people? Intellectuals from your people, from your country. And that is, they are pulling your people. So instead of you having something in place to retain those people, you are pushing them. So these are people that are fall in two. Where they're coming from, they have been pushed, and where they're coming from, they have been pulled. So the process is going to be quite fast. So these are the effects, and it really affects on our economy. It affects people's rights to pay tax, because we some of these things are hidden. But when people are working in the country, they pay tax, especially a country that is a tax-based country. You need people to
Economy.
work so that they can pay tax, so that your economy can thrive. But the people that should work to have more earnings are the people that you are pushing away. They go to other countries and paying taxes. You know the tax you are paying. I can confidently say the tax you are paying is more than the amount of money you are earning in Gambia monthly.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And that's to me, and that's to everyone else. No matter how much you are paid in Gambia, the tax that you are paying in Europe monthly, as far as you are working, legally working, it should be more than the amount of money that you earn monthly in your country. So why? So your country should have been proactive enough to have a system in place where they pay you so that you can pay that tax. And especially a country that have no resources, especially a country that's 100% dependent on tax, they should be very concerned about this. And it's sad to say that this government, anytime we talk about diaspora and stuff like that, they brag about things like remittances. No serious economy brag about remittances, because remittances is something that's important just only in the short run. It benefits,
Absolutely.
but it
And,
does
and,
not.
and as you highlighted, I don't want to cut you short, but these remittances also have a huge impact on the country, because most of the qualified professionals are leaving, and those professionals are the ones sending back the remittances. And then when you look at the Gambia now, even in terms of development, all the beautiful houses you see, all the nice businesses you see, is the diaspora remittances that are behind it. So I think, it has a huge impact, though people in the Gambia might not see it, because my family will be happy that MK is in the US and he's sending us at least $1,500 every couple of weeks. But in a long term, it's affecting the growth and productivity of the country as a whole. So I think, there is a issue that is happening in the Gambia that need to be addressed. That is why we are having this discussion. But Ibrahim, we are almost, the discussion is interesting, and these are very rare topics that are hardly discussed on mainstream media. That is why, I am so happy to have you, a professional like you, who have a deep knowledge of the working relationship of these issues, to come and discuss, dissect these issues, break it down to my audience. And I'm glad that people watching are finding this discussion very interesting. Moving on, public service such as healthcare, education are often hit hardest by brain drain. Can you highlight specific challenges the Gambia faces in this sector due to the loss of skilled professionals leaving the country for worse?
Yeah, so the challenges are quite, the numbers are high. The people that suffer the most are the citizens, are the poor people. Because, for example, in the healthcare sector, when they go to the hospital and there is no doctor, they will eventually not have anybody to take care of them. So it's the poor individuals. When a rich man goes to a hospital and, for example, there is no doctor there, they go to a private hospital because they can afford it. So some of this, it's affecting the average Gambian. That's the Gambian who will not go to AfriMed, the Gambian that will not go to, that will not be able to afford Medicare, the Gambian that will not be able to afford Buffalo. But it's the Gambian that is, that have, those are the Gambians that are really dying because of this. And if you also look at it, outside the healthcare sector and all that, when you shift to the education, it's still the same thing. The Gambian that can afford private education will not worry, but the average Gambian who will need to go to university, or who will need to go to public institutions are suffering. And all of us have witnessed it. In the University of the Gambia, there were times that we don't have special lecturers. Sometimes the university will have to go into this institution to appoint individuals. They call them adjunct lecturers. They work in a certain time, 5 to 7, that will be the time they will come, because the university cannot afford to write lecturers, to come and lecture. Yeah. Yeah, so it's huge. It's not only about university, even high schools. There are a lot of normal teachers, like secondary teachers, senior teachers, that are leaving the Gambia to the West just to teach in high numbers. Innovation, the same thing. So the impact it's hugely on our economy, it's hugely on our social services, and the ultimate people that pay the price are the average Gambians that do not have the financial independence and the financial freedom to be able to have an alternative, to be able to go to the private school, to be able to go to the public institution. And that is why I think this is a clarion call for everybody that is watching, and that really wants some of these things to be better, to because at the end of the day, the government do not put themselves there. The government is being elected by individuals, so individuals need to take responsibility to stand up to the government. If the government does not do well, change them and bring another government. If they don't do well, change them and bring another government, until we have a government that does well. Because all of these things will lead to what we call corruption. They don't care. They just have the money how they want. The people will just keep dying. Ultimately.
Absolutely. People will just keep dying if we don't have the necessary measures in place to avert a potential crisis. I would call it a crisis because already, Ibrahim, I remember a couple of years ago, the World Bank did a report about how much Africa is losing its skilled professional. And the little Gambia, a small country, 1.5 million, was among the top 5 countries in Africa, with Cape Verde, that has, brain drain, like more professionals from the Gambia working. Take an example. We have more Gambians in ADB. That's the Islamic Development Bank. Go to Saudi. Go to African Development Bank. Go to the UN. You have all these highly skilled Gambia. You're not talking about the UK, the Americas. Sometimes, when I'm in conversation with people I profile, they will lead me to more people, and I will like, oh, really? Are these all Gambians? Because these are highly skilled professionals in their, respective fields, from tech, medicine, journalism, communication, HR, including yourself. So I think, there should be a national conversation on this very important topic. I remember when Barrow administration came in 2018, we had the first diaspora summit where we invited, highly skilled Gambians for them to come back. But at the end of the day, most of them had to leave, back to West, because they feel that the government was not ready to absorb them. I have seen people who leave their families and their highly paid jobs in America. They went to Gambia immediately after the change. But most of them are back here because they feel that the system is not ready to absorb them. Ibrahim, I'm doing the talking because I'm also very concerned about employment issues, because yeah, it saddened me because I work at Alcamba, and every day, I publish stories, inspiring stories of Gambians, who are highly skilled, graduating with masters, double masters, PhD. Recently, more than 10 Gambians I profile graduated with a PhD in mathematics. These are areas that, these are STEM areas, that is highly lacking even at the University of the Gambia. Why can't the government absorb these people, to develop our country? But until then, this is where we are. Ibrahim, we are almost at the tail end, but I have a couple of questions, because I wanted to ask you about, you are a member of a political party, the UDP, which I will say is currently in an internal crisis with the issue of flag bearer, but that will come in the later part of the interview. So my next question will be, innovation is critical for national development. How does a brain drain stifle the Gambia's ability to innovate and compete in a globalized world as a professional?
Yeah, quite advanced. I mean, Gambia should strategize well, come up with brain gain strategies, find a way to keep individuals, incentivize them and attract talent.
Yeah.
What happens at the end of the day when you don't have ideas flowing in a country is the country becomes stagnant. And that's why when you go to institutions, the same systems that are there since 1965 is the same systems that are there. Even the same normal administrative procedures. People don't even use their emails. People
Yeah.
will write letters on papers. There is no efficiency. There is no change. Because what happens is if you don't provide an incentive for innovation, people fight against innovation. If you go to these institutions, you can find young individuals there that want to change the system, and they
Yeah.
will people will stand up to them. They will say, "This is not going to happen." I know of an institution where somebody tried to, and I
No,
work with him.
they are just allergic to innovation, and
Yes,
it's hard. And that is
yes,
one reason that a lot of young people have been discouraged, because I have seen very smart young people who are trying to digitalize their departments, but they are faced with challenges because the old head, I would say the so-called old heads who feel self-entitled, that is their birthright, entitlement to be heads of those particular institution, will not give way to young people. And this is also one reason why a lot of young people with brain, professionals are also leaving the country. Ibrahim.
yes, that's true. There's a young Gambian who just went to the UK. From UK, I made some connections with him, and he went and he worked with a couple of institutions here where he developed a software for them that tracks their presence, the presence of staff. And he did a pilot for about 2 institutions. He's not asking them to pay. He did a
Yeah,
pilot for them
pilot
where
program.
they'll make sure, because people don't come to work on time and they leave anytime they want. He did a pilot program to them to monitor the in and out of individuals in the organization. And at the end of the day, it was the director who even stopped it, because the director was not coming to work on time and he leaves every day by 2. So he knows that the system is actually going to hit him hard. So
Mhm.
he sabotaged it and it doesn't continue. So that's what innovation does. Innovation corrects systems. Ideas correct system. It brings about efficiency. It brings about responsibility. It makes sure people pay for prices. You understand what I mean? It makes sure if you don't come to work, you are not going
Okay.
to pay for the work. Right? I mean, I give an example. I go to work only once in a week. Every other day I sit on my computer at home.
Oh,
What happens is that if I'm not on my computer for about 2 hours, my
they know.
supervisor, my director
Mhm.
knows that Ibrahim is not working. He might not raise anything, obviously he knows,
Yeah.
but he knows that I'm not working and I'm responsible for it. If something happens, or if an email is not responded, or if a particular report is not sent on time, it's on me. So I'm responsible. So what happens is that the innovation or the systems that are put in place force you to work hard, and that's not
Yeah.
what's happening in Gambia. And
Mhm.
if there is an introduction for it, people resist. Because of what? People are resistant to change, because change will come after their jobs, and they will do everything to stand between you and their job.
Yeah, but recently, I don't know whether you saw it. I saw it myself. They are piloting clock in, clock out in some government institutions. So I don't know, as a HR professional, how effective will that be in terms of increasing efficiency and effectiveness in service delivery.
Those clock in, clock out, it's not only about having a system where somebody knows who comes on time, who doesn't come on time. Clock in, clock out need to be connected with payroll systems in every serious organization or business. Clock in, clock out systems need to be automated with payroll system. Nobody punishes you. You don't come to work, you don't tap in. The payroll captures that you don't tap in. At the end of the month, you don't pay, you're not paid for it. You're not punished by the director. You're not punished by the manager. When you're not paid, you don't go to anybody to complain to, because they are not the one who did it. It's a system that does it. So that is what innovation does. It brings about a system where anybody who does something wrong have nowhere to complain to, because the system is where you should complain to, and the system is not a human being, right? So, but people will not, in the Gambia, they will not adhere to it. They can have the clock in, clock out systems, but how many of them have these clock in, clock out systems automated to their payrolls? And how many people will come
Yeah,
late or come to work
yeah.
and they will pay the price at the end of the month? It doesn't happen.
Yeah,
So
because that's my thinking. I don't think the clock in, clock out in the Gambia, is connected, or they amalgamate the paycheck, payroll with the clock in. I'm not sure about that, but I have to find out. Ibrahima, many thanks for that brilliant answer. For those joining us, this is the final take. Today, I have a special guest, uh, Mr. Ibrahim, who is joining me. I don't know what happened to my screen. I can see my technical guy. Osman, can you check what happened to my screen? Ibrahim, but you can hear me, right?
Yes, loud and clear.
Ibrahim, you can. Oh,
Yes.
yeah, but I don't know. My screen is not coming. My technical guy, Usman, will fix that, but we can still go. We are just left with 10 minutes because this is just a 1 hour program. But Ibrahima, are there any hidden or less obvious consequences of brain drain that you think the public in the Gambia might not fully recognize?
Yeah, so apart from the things that we talk about, I mean, it affects the population a lot. It affects the population because it's a high influence on immigration. Because what happens is these people, when they left your country, they go and have families outside the
Yeah,
country, and they build. It's
right.
kind of a move. It's very dangerous for the population. It's very dangerous for our social capital, and the fact that it is young folks that are moving. All of them have families outside. Their kids become Americans, Europeans, British, and there is what is called detachment. Their generation might not be detached. Obviously they might even be detached because they spend more time in the West than in the Gambia. Like yourself and myself, you spend more time in the US, and you will obviously spend more time in the US than the Gambia. And time being, for now, I think I'm spending more time in the UK than in the Gambia. So, and what happens is we have been detached. Even some of us, sometimes we don't see this, but we've been detached. What happens is our children will not be as conversant as us, or as, more affluent to go back to Gambia or to get themselves in Gambian related issues, and generations get wiped out, because what happens is what they call generational transfer. And these are things that we really need to pay attention to. And I hope, hopefully government will learn and come up with
Okay.
strategies to what I said.
Mhm. Many thanks, Ibrahim. I will give you a final question on this employment, and then we will spend 2 minutes on your party internal crisis, because I don't want to bring it, but the final take explore major happenings. So it's an opportunity to discuss that very important happenings in the country with you. Diaspora engagement from brain drain to brain gain, Ibrahim. How can the Gambia transform brain drain to brain gain by engaging in diaspora? Are there any successful model from other countries that could be applied? You are in the UK, I'm in the US. Do you think there is a model that Gambia can apply in order to backtrack this brain drain that is affecting the growth and development of the Gambia, a small country of 2.5 million with a lot of highly skilled professionals, serving foreign countries all over the world?
Yeah, I think it's about engagement. Like you said, diaspora engagement, and that is very, very important. I mean, other Western countries, one of the ways they make sure they keep the diaspora at the center of their business is allowing the diaspora to take part in the activities in the country, major activities like elections. That's not even
Yeah.
in the West. If you go to African countries like Senegal, like Nigeria, they make sure they keep their diaspora engaged in major local activities or major national activities. And there is no major national activity that is bigger than voting, because you are
Yeah.
getting involved physically. And one of the ways Gambia could have done, we missed that opportunity, is to have allowed our diaspora to take part selecting who lead the affairs of the Gambia. And when that happens, we owe a responsibility to ourselves. If I vote on A who doesn't do well, I might not be in the Gambia, but I'll say, well, I have contributed in having this person in the Gambia who's not doing well. Right.
Yeah.
So I feel engaged, I felt involved, I felt part of. And that's just normal. Even at your own home. Let's
Yeah.
bring it down. At your own home, in the decision making of the home, if you are given the opportunity to have a say in the home, whether they listen to you or not, but if you are given the opportunity to have a say, you feel part of the home. But if you are a home member or if you're a member of a family, when decision making is happening, they say, well, you're a member of a family, but you are not part of us. You need to stay outside and wait for us to make a decision, and you agree with us. You feel excluded. And that's what is happening to the diaspora in the Gambia. They felt that they are excluded. They felt that they are not relevant. They felt that they are not given the opportunity to be part as a Gambian. And you could see the Barrow government, Gambians and all that, not Gambians, people in power with their discriminatory statements. And not only that, but even the laws in the Gambia are very, very discriminatory. To say somebody who lives in the diaspora cannot be a cabinet minister, or somebody who lives in the diaspora for a particular number of years cannot be a presidential candidate. These are kind of the exclusions that have been happening in Gambia, just like my professor in LSE, Professor Jibril Fall, mentioned. This is what was happening before the Jawara time, where they say the people that are in the combos are only the people that will vote, because the people that are in the rural areas, it is far, we don't have the resources to include. You cannot decide who should be involved because of money. That is absolutely nonsense, sorry to say. Because of money, I am not going to be involved. Why? Then it should not even happen. So the same exclusion, how those people have been excluded, is exactly the same how we've been excluded. And it's sometimes very sad to say, if you spend 5 years in the UK, you have the right to vote because you have citizenship or passport. If you have 5 years in America, you have passport, you have right to vote, you have right to decide who become the president. But you can be in Gambia for 40 years of your life. You just leave Gambia for 1 month, you will not have the right to vote because you are not there. It's a big insult, and that kind of exclusion are the things that we need to work on. Exclusions on our laws, exclusion on our electoral processes, exclusion on which position should be held by who, are the things that we really need to work on to incorporate everybody. And if that happens, then
Ibrahim, you raise a very important issue, that is the diaspora, because the diaspora in any country is the backbone, because we believe that the diaspora is highly skilled, they are highly educated, but Gambia is not leveraging on its diaspora expertise. Do you think it's because of the mistrust between the diaspora, or disconnect between the diaspora and the people or the government of the Gambia? And how do you think we can bridge this mistrust to ensure that the diaspora, contribute to the development of our country? There has been a lot of cry with regards to diaspora voting to be part of the democratization process of their beloved Gambia, but this is not happening.
Yeah.
How, any solution to bridge this gap?
Yeah, the only answer is fear to be challenged. The people in the Gambia government are they're fearful to be challenged because supposedly diaspora will not dance to the tune, and it is hard to say. We cannot say that it's because of trust or something. If you look at the government sector, the head of the government right now was a diasporian. There was some time he was not in Gambia, right? The one of the ministers, Dr. Ismail Assise, have chunk of his
the
life.
presidential affairs advisor too.
You can count them. You can count them. Ministers, you can count them. Senior government officials, you can count them who were in the diaspora. National Assembly members, some, not many, but some are in the diaspora. The judges, some of them have been in the diaspora. When you say you're in the diaspora, it doesn't mean even if you are working or whatsoever, you're still in the diaspora. Even if you are being sent in the diaspora to work on behalf of your government, you are still in the diaspora. You're still categorized as a diasporian, right? So all of these things is not because of exclusion. It's just fear of being challenged, because they felt like they can manipulate, in my opinion, without a research, just looking at the things at the periphery. I could say that they feel like they don't want to be challenged. The diaspora, if you look at it, the diaspora as the highest they form the highest resistant ratio in Gambia. This the diaspora who kicked out Jammeh. When I say kick out, they might not relatively vote, but they give Jammeh a headache. They were the one who was sending money, sponsoring people on the ground, doing all of those things, just like President Barrow said. So it's the diaspora who plays a role. And if you look at it now, it's the diaspora who is correcting things, making comparison, not attacking Barrow, but correcting Barrow. So I felt like the government and its machinery are fearful of being challenged. And one of the things
of the diaspora
not to be challenged is by excluding them. But the argument about money, argument about resources is absolutely bogus and holds no water.
Okay. Many thanks, Ibrahim. That's bring us almost to the final end of this important conversation. very educative. I think we should be doing stuff like this. A lot of people are finding this conversation interesting. Ibrahim, finally, you are a card-carrying member of the country's biggest opposition camp, the United Democratic Party. Just yesterday, or a couple of days, there has been a lot of internal crisis, I will say, over the issue of the flag bearer. People are picking the long-time party leader, Usain Dabo, against his own member, who is currently the mayor of Kanifing Municipal Council, Mayor Talib Bensouda, to a state that, we've seen party members throwing shade on each other, supporting different candidates. Is your party in crisis, Ibrahim, internally?
No, I don't think there are internal crises in the party. I think what is happening right now is very normal. It's normal in a democracy. One of the things the United Democratic Party prides itself is its democratic values, hence the name United Democratic Party. So I think people have the right to constructively think that Usainu Dabo should be the party leader. Other people have the right to believe that Usainu Dabo have been there for a very long time and that he have spent so much time trying to groom individuals. He have saved the political career of people like Talib Bensouda, and he should allow them to test waters. And those people also have the right; they are within their right to that opinion. And personally, I subscribe to them. So and nobody is saying that they should bend the rules for Talib to come. Personally, I don't think that should happen. Talib should follow the procedure, that the party has to become a party leader if he wants to, right? But if other people feels like Talib should be the party leader, not the party leader, but the flag bearer, they have that right. Anybody, and this has been the statement of the party leader in many times. He said the United Democratic Party is a democratic party. Anybody can be a party leader. MK, if you are UDP, you can stand for presidency. And people should respect that. And when there are suggestions for somebody to be a party leader, I don't think they should be seen as they have been divisive or something. They're just expressing their democratic right. And the funny thing is, the person who they have been pinpointing have not come for once to say, I want to become your flag bearer. I have not said, I want to become your presidential candidate. And if you want to say the things that he's doing shows that he wants to be a flag bearer, he should do those things because he's the national organizing secretary. He has a responsibility in the party to be in the forefront of issues. He has a responsibility in the party to be visible in those visible activities. If you think he's selling himself, I mean, you have a right to opinionate as such, but I disagree with you. And I think Talib is within his rights, even if he wants to be a flag bearer in UDP, he is within his rights. The party he gives him that power. So long he wants to follow the procedure that everybody wants to follow, that should be fine. My only problem is that I think individuals in the party like me can make those opinions and stuff like that. They can disagree. I'm not just very happy seeing party executive officers taking the social media, attacking individuals. For example, I'm going to be very straightforward to that. Comments by Yanks Dabo, I think that is out of touch. Yanks is a very, very intelligent person. He's doing an incredible job in Brikama Area Council. I personally supported him when he stood. Even though I am not there at the time, but I wanted him to win because I know he has the capabilities. Rohim Malik Low, I thought he was somebody who fit for the purpose, and I still believe he's fit for the purpose. So I think they should stop attacking, Talib or another person because of what a particular supporter says. Those supporters, they say things that they believe. They are not insulting you. They say they want this person to become a party, flag bearer. That should not make you to take a rampage on social media, attacking other people or saying things that are out of touch, bringing tribe in the country. I don't agree with that. And just to answer your correction again, one more, MK, our party is intact. Our party leader is happy. I think Mayor Bensouda is, our national organizing secretary is doing an incredible job. We just have, I have to take some minutes to advertise our party, please. We have a gathering, I think, in 28th of June in Yundum, my own village, where young people and youth, the female wing will convert. The party leader will be there. Everybody will be there. Talib will be there, Rahi will be there, Yanks will be there, and this is just one of those family crises, and everybody will come back together. And 2026 inside.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim. Finally, because I am just out 14 minutes outside my original 1 hour allocated for this show, but because
Right.
the discussions are very interesting and for the sake of our audience who are also enjoying this conversation, I just stopped 15 minutes on top of the original 1 hour. But finally, Ibrahim, do you think that there is an issue with succession plan per se, in opposition parties, not only the United Democratic Party, because when you look at most of these opposition political parties, since I was a kid, I have seen one leader, serving, these political parties from the PDOIS to the UDP and, to other political parties. Do you think it's time for parties to have internal democracy and internal succession plan to avoid what we are seeing in the United Democratic Party? Because this can cost your party ahead of the elections, which is just at the corner.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I agree with you. Succession plan is important. Parties should not, UDP is not been built around one person. Everybody knows that. But parties obviously should not be built around individuals, should be built around a common idea. And there should be succession planning to allow people to take over from another party. And I think that is happening even in the UDP, because what is happening is, the leadership, they're not selecting themselves, it's the executive that is selecting them. So, and I believe there will be a system in place, to give opportunity to the people that are coming up. And we see that signs. What is more important, I believe, is that if we are preaching for something to happen in the government, for example, if we are saying that we want this and this to happen in government, if we come into government, this is what we want to do, we need to be able to practice that internally. Because if you are saying to people that if I come to government, I'm going to do this, when you're in your own party, you cannot do that. It speaks a lot about you. I think that is something we need to work on. I think the UDP is working on that. It's very democratic. That was not a simple moment that I think someone has been forced on the party. Everybody that is in a position in the party have been elected. And I think Talib Bensouda is a typical example of that. He had an interview, he had a statement just recently, and he said that
yes,
people should...
I'm gonna play my technical guy Osman just sent me that video, but because of time issues, the video is 6 minutes 20 seconds. But I will just try and play 2 minutes of the video before I, close this interview, if you don't mind. So just a minute, and then the video is right here.
Man la Talib Ahmed Bensouda, sen mboka, sen raka, sen harit. Neka fi tay Saturday afternoon in my wonderful office doing the people's work. Ma ne ma ñëw rek ma waxtaan ak askan bi tuuti. Topic of discussion is a few things. I think one, we cannot ignore some of the things we are hearing online depuis démba. Unfortunately, I was actually in a meeting with the party leader yesterday, and we were discussing the organization of the party. As you know, I am the organizing secretary, my organizing secretary UDP. So in that discussion, we were planning our next few events. One of them is the Women's Wing Rally, which is on the 28th. I believe it's in Yundum, which will be a big Women's Wing program led by Aja Sukai Naka and Bintu Ture. So we were discussing that. Of course, Mayor Bensouda's Dinkulio is coming at Fulakunda Kuntawur next week, Saturday, on the 21st. So we were discussing all these things, and little did we know there was a lot of push and pull going on the social media. But usually, I don't like commenting on these things because I want the United Democratic Party to focus on the most important thing, and that is how to remove President Adama Barrow in 2026, how to make sure we have a UDP government. I think that should be our goal. But Mane, I should just come out and talk a little bit because I am disappointed and I'm a bit hot because discussions are around tribe. I really dislike, I can say I even hate tribal politics or tribal talk. So I'm talking to all UDP members, pro-Talib supporters, pro-UDP supporters, pro-Hussein Dabo supporters. We are all one family. whoever we are, let's try and talk about the advancement of our party policy, our party manifesto. How do we win 2026? How do we develop the Gambia? And let us understand, Gambia, the Fatuti is very, very tiny. Gambia Doyata Baki. Everybody is related. My wife is Fulani, my mother is Mandinka, Nabama Mandinkoti, my mama, both on all three sides, na father's side, na mother's side, all of them, all three grandparents are Mandinkas. Fulas are part of my family, Olofs, Manjagoi, Serer, Akus, everybody, Christian community. So Gambia Doyata Baki. So we have to make sure we are one family. So we should not allow anybody or anything to divide us. So please, UDP people, please Gambians, let us cease and desist from talking about tribe. You can love somebody, you can support somebody, but support them on
Gambia doyatale, and then let's avoid tribalism. Ibrahim, that's the mayor Talib Bensouda. I have to cut it short because of a time issue, but that's a statement from Talib. The controversy surrounding the UDP flag bearer said. Talib just mentioned that he was with the party leader yesterday, to discuss about the party's upcoming election, and the UDP focus now is how to get rid of President Barrow from power. Ibrahima, your final word before I let you go in 30 seconds, because I don't want to. You are a politician, although you are a human resources professional, but you are also a politician because you are a member of the UDP. What do you make of Talib's statement in 30 seconds before we round this up?
So what he just said there is just saying to everybody that what is happening in social media is what we call much ado about nothing. It's just people brouhaha. The preamble to his statement finishes it all. I was with the party leader who you said I want to take his position. I was with him planning about how to remove the corrupt Barrow and his government, planning how to make sure that I bring the best services to you. So I think that is very clear. And just to be fair to him, he's a gentleman like every other person. Let's allow him to grow. Let's support the United Democratic Party when people feel like he needs to be the party leader, when they opinionated that. Let me just say this, when I associate with Talib a lot, we speak on, associate a lot, I can say that. But Talib do not have the right to decide what I post on my social media. He doesn't give me money to do that. He can't do that, right? So if I go on social media and say something about something that you don't agree with, attack me, disagree with me, that doesn't mean that you should attack Talib, And I think people also need to be able to separate individuals and officials. Individuals who make statements, go after them. If you want, don't disagree with them, it's left to them. But people like Yangs Dabo and Rohi are incredibly great assets for the UDP. They are doing an incredibly great work, and they should desist from attacking Talib or attacking any other person because a particular supporter said something. They should work together because we look up to them and we love them. And there is no problem. We are one family, and 2026, we will come and eradicate corruption, make sure Barrow leave and take over the country, inshallah.
Absolutely. Many thanks to my special guest, Ibrahim Damfa, a human resources professional currently working at the London School of Economics in London, United Kingdom. Ibrahim, many thanks for joining me on this special discussion on the final take today with me, Seni Marina.
Thank you so much, MK. Thank you.
Tune into the final take with MK Marina every Saturday on the Alcamba Times and experience extensive conversations on a variety of topics, including national and international headlines, breaking issues, and major developments in politics, business, innovation, science, and sports, along with inspiring stories and expert analysis to provide a comprehensive
Bye-bye, wherever you are joining us. This brings us to the end of this important conversation with Ibrahim Damfa. I will come your way again next Saturday with another interesting conversation. Until then, bye-bye, and do have a wonderful weekend with your family. Thank you. See you soon.